On August 28, 1963, a 34-year-old preacher motivated 250,000 people to gather on the Washington Mall to listen to him speak about freedom. Ordinary man in extraordinary circumstances. Were he alive, he would have been 88 years old, and we all got to celebrate his birthday. Some of you may have even had the day off yesterday. Most of you know that speech. Towards the end of the speech, it says, "I have a dream." This is his dream, that all of us, from different walks of life, different races, would interact together. There was more that was said in that speech. But as I talk to you about him today, I want each and every one of you to think about your dreams, where you want to go, and how could you be an ordinary person in extraordinary circumstances, or create extraordinary circumstances. A young 12-year-old boy walked into a gym in the mid-60s because someone had stolen his bike, and was advised, if you're going to confront somebody about your stolen bike, you better know how to fight. And that kid walked into the gym and just stopped dead in his tracks because he was so mesmerized by the movement, the smell, the structure of fighting, that he didn't even think about his bike anymore. He walked up to the police officer, and he became one of the greatest boxers this country or the world has ever seen. Today is his birthday, January 17th. He passed away last year, Muhammad Ali. Again, an ordinary young boy who became extraordinary. He used to say to anyone that would listen to him how much he hated to train. He loved boxing. He loved hitting people and knocking them out. He loved winning, but he hated training. And he would say, I continued to train because it wasn't because I liked it. And I'm paraphrasing, this is not the exact quote. It was simply because I knew I would be the greatest. So again, I ask you, ordinary people, what can you do to create extraordinary circumstances in your life or the life of others? And as you're thinking about that, what are the obstacles and challenges that you would have to overcome in order to get there? Yesterday, I watched a 35-year-old woman cruise through the first round of the Australian Open. Ordinary young girl who started playing tennis at 3 years old, born in Michigan. Her maybe crazy dad moved them to Compton, California, and then to Florida for training. She was homeschooled and eventually became #1 in the world, and possibly the greatest female athlete this country and the world has ever seen. Serena Williams is on her way to perhaps another Serena slam. She is a bestie in my head. She hasn't told me the circumstances yet. I think she's my best friend. I'll let you know how she's going to proceed later on. But again, I want you all to think about, these are all ordinary people who created their own circumstance to become the greatest of all time in whatever it is that they decided to do. There's a strong pull when you've met your purpose, when you come face to face with what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be changing people's lives. There is a gravitational pull that is unimaginable. 10 years ago, I was sitting in a conference room at PepsiCo, and in marched a bunch of ordinary people who forever changed my life. They were trainers, coaches. They came in to talk to a bunch of us about, I don't remember what it was, but I remember sitting there thinking, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to sit down or stand up or engage with someone, and all of a sudden, the light bulb goes on. All of a sudden, their lives are changed. All of a sudden, I have said or done something or interacted with them in a way that changed what they wanted to do. It took me 7 years to get there. 7 years to become a coach. I think that's the theme for tonight. We've got some coaches in the house. 7 years for me to get to the point where I could step out and show up and do what I absolutely love, because the pull was unimaginable. It was like God himself or herself had touched me and said, go do this. And nothing was going to come in between what I wanted to do and what I was doing. There was nothing that would stop me from moving forward. So you're listening to me and you're probably thinking, oh, that's great, go ahead, quote Martin Luther King Jr., you're bringing up Muhammad Ali, and you're talking about Serena, whose serve is like 120 miles an hour. We don't do that. Sure, none of us do. Or we may not be sitting here, right? We will be out doing what we're supposed to be doing with our lives. But that's not the point. Every single person, I believe, was born with the ability to do something special. It's just a matter of figuring out what that special something is for you. For you. For you. It could simply be you want to be a much better speaker. So you're here tonight. But then how do you get there? What are the key steps for moving from thinking about, I have a dream, to actually moving forward in your purpose? The first thing you have to do is have a vision. Because you could dream all you want, but if you do not have a vision, and think about it as a vision statement for your life in the next 5 to 10 years, if you don't have a vision, it's all over before you start it. That dream, your purpose, will just sit in your heart and not move. So you have to have a clear vision and see yourself there in the next 5 years, 3 years, whatever it is for you. Next, you have to write your own personal mission statement, because that's shorter term. I want to be the best speaker in the world. Well, the first thing you have to do is actually get up and start speaking. You join Toastmasters. You come to the club. You practice, 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 right? Short steps. How do you climb Mount Everest? One step at a time. After that, once you've got your vision and your mission, you've got to be prepared, and then you have to perceive. Prepare and perceive. Muhammad Ali used to say, I'm the greatest of all time. You know why he said that? Simply because he wanted to believe that he was the greatest. I'm the prettiest. I sting like a butterfly. I float like a bee. Because that is what he was going to do. He would tell his opponents, I'm going to knock you out. And he did. Because he put it out there. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, and listed out what he wanted to see. It didn't happen overnight, but it did happen. So you prepare and you perceive. And then finally, your attitude will determine your altitude. We've all seen those cheesy posters all over the place. But if you have the right attitude, you will definitely stop clucking with the chickens and fly with the eagles. Because you have to be able to see yourself doing that. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, in order to get your dream to reality, it's a vision, it's a mission, it's prepare, and it is also your attitude. I'm going to close on a poem. It's written by Anonymous. I don't know who Anonymous is, but I want you to think about this as I wrap up. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain that you won't. If you think you lose, you've lost. For out in the world we find success begin with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you ever win the prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man or woman, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the person who thinks he can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Thank you.